start the Grapple Asia podcast episode, we want to give a quick shout out to our sponsors and people that support us. Softspot.Açaí. Kat has a little store now in Tonglo, and they do some incredible acai. It's sugar-free, no preservatives, and they have little pop-ups around the place. They had a little pop-up in Paragraph and M-Quartier recently, but they're mainly based in Tonglo. They're available on Grab as well, and they do some great dairy hybrid options as well, and their nut butters are incredible. The pistachio one I highly recommend personally. Our sponsor is fightaesthetic.asia, and if you use code GRAPPLEASIA, you'll get 10% off everything except from the Alpha Gi. So thank you to Aesthetic for always supporting us. And we actually do also supply them in Thailand with free shipping as well.
หมาล่าเสียบไม้เปิดใหม่ที่สยามเซ็นเตอร์ค่ะมีให้ความอลังไปเลย10ร้าน King Kong Fry Skewer คือร้านนี้จะเป็นหมาล่าเสียบไม้ที่เราสามารถเลือกไม้ได้เองแล้วประเด็นมีเนื้อสัตว์หลากหลายมากๆเธอหยิบได้เลยว่าจะเอาหมูซีฟู้ดหรือว่าพวกเต้าหู้ต่างๆแล้วก็มีผักด้วยก็คือเขาจะเสียบไม้มาใหญ่ๆแบบนี้เลยแล้วก็จะมีแบบไม้เซตด้วยทุกคนดูความอลังการนี่ดิพอเลือกเสร็จแล้วเขาจะเอาไปทอดให้เราค่ะจากนั้นก็เอามาทาน้ำซอสจะมีทั้งซอสหม่าล่าแล้วก็ซอสหวานซึ่งวันนี้เราได้ลองทั้ง2รสเลยตบท้ายด้วยการโรยผงหม่าล่าแบบนี้ค่ะทุกคนเอาจริงไม่เคยกินหม่าล่าทอดวันนี้เป็นครั้งแรกเลยปกติเราจะคุ้นเคยกับหม่าล่าแบบย่างใช่ไหมแต่นี่เลยค่ะอลังการมากคือนี่ได้กลิ่นหอมตั้งแต่เขาทาเลยทุกคนแล้วของเราจะลองเป็นแบบรสหวานชาติดีมากผงหม่าล่าเขาหอมแล้วก็อร่อยส่วนแฟนจะกินเป็นแบบหม่าล่าเนี่ยเลือกระดับความเผ็ดได้นะเราเลือกมาแบบเผ็ด2เป็นความเผ็ดที่รับได้ไม่เผ็ดจนเกินไปกินเพลินมากนี่สั่งเพิ่มมาอีกค่ะเป็น snowflake thunder chicken เป็นไก่ชิ้นที่เอาไปทอดแล้วโรยผงหม่าล่าอันนี้จะมีความกรอบๆเค็มๆตบท้ายด้วยของหวาน sticky rice cake มันจะเป็นแป้งข้าวเหนียวโรยด้วยน้ำตาลทรายแดงกรอบนุ่มๆไปเดินสยามอย่าลืมแวะไปร้านนี้นะ
A shout out to our sponsor, Creontes.com, the memetic lifestyle band in grappling and performance sports. They create stylish jiu-jitsu apparel with a twist of humor, and they've built quite a cult following and community as well. If you use the discount code Grapple Asia, you'll get 10% off all orders, and give them a follow as well on Chief Creonte. And again, the website name is Creontes.com. Right, so this is going to be Grappling Asia episode 30 by the time it comes out. My guest today is Kyvann Gonzalez, and he's the owner and operator of Bodega Jiu-Jitsu, and they've been operating for roughly about a year.
2 years.
2 years now.
Yeah, we just hit 2.
Yeah. So, just since he's here with Gianni Grippo for one grappling match, I thought I'd get him on the podcast and just get to know him a little bit. So, yeah. Thank you for coming on.
I appreciate you having me, man. I don't take any podcast for granted, so thanks for the exposure and thanks for considering me.
No problem. So my first question, easy opener. How did you start jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, it was all my dad. My dad got me into it when I was young. He didn't really know where to go find jiu-jitsu. It wasn't that available like that long ago. So we saw UFC, right? Then he found a couple videos and we were just doing stuff in the backyard. Then he got me into like regular martial arts, but my dad went off to do jiu-jitsu and he pretty much planted the seed, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And when did you realize it was just more than a sport for you?
You know, I don't think I've had that realization yet. It's still very much so a sport for me, just a sport that I really like, you know? Yeah. I try to put the fight back into it, but the reality is you can't without striking. Mm-hmm. In my opinion, it's very much so a sport still, so.
Yeah. Okay. And what was the transition from training at Pure MMA and teaching there, and then moving into opening up Bodega Jiu-Jitsu?
Yeah, so I'm so grateful for the guys at Pure. I always shout them out and try to make sure to shout them out just because they did so much for me. Like Andy and Mikey gave me an opportunity to teach. Andy and Mikey Main gave me an opportunity to teach early on, which I always talk about how big the school is because it's incredible. They have like 60 people on the mat at a time, and it's like 500 plus students. So it was a lot of pressure to make sure I taught every technique at the time correctly, but it made me super comfortable in front of people, made me manage my time super carefully. But anyway, so I'm very grateful for them. The transition, as soon as I decided to go to Bodega full time, like I think the biggest thing I noticed was these were just my guys, mm-hmm. you know, like over there when I was teaching, it felt like I was just contributing to what their grappling is. But when I was at Bodega and it was my gym, I was like, oh, there's no one else to blame.
Yeah,
like,
yeah, you're in complete
control. So I think that was the biggest difference I noticed with that transition. But as far as like leaving them as a coach to just be my own coach, it really didn't feel like that big of a transition, really. It just felt like I was doing what I was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm. All right. And what's the story behind the name? It's quite a unique name, right?
Yeah. My business partner and I, Chaz, who's like my brown belt and he's the homie, he's like one of my best friends. We were like thinking of a name. We had a couple names. I forget what names we had written down on like this piece of paper. And so we were just thinking about it. We were going to come back to it. I remember I went to sleep and I had a dream where someone was like, dude, how's your school going? I was like, it's going really well. They're like, what was the name again? And I was like, oh, it's Bodega Jiu-Jitsu. And I woke up and I was like, I like that. Let me tell Chaz. And I told Chaz and he's like, I love that name. And I was like, dude, me too, and it's just so crazy how that happened.
Yeah.
But so then we were like, multi-purpose bodega in tri-state area is like, it's got its own vibe,
Yeah.
Everyone knows the bodega on the corner. You go, you can get everything you need. You meet the homies over there. Like it's super like, very East Coast, but also it's like, minority based. Like it's not usually like rich white people, right? So me and my business partner are both minorities. And I'm like, dude, it encompasses us. The second part of it too, like there's multiple bodegas, right? And so that's kind of the direction we hope to move towards.
Yeah. Oh, that's awesome. So, like leading up to going into like owning a gym and operating a gym full time, you left your 9 to 5 in 2024, right? I remember watching a reel on your social media and like everyone's kind of clapping you out when you left the job and stuff like that. And I just thought that's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did it feel leaving like your 9 to 5 job and then going into something? Because the risk is high, obviously, because you're an owner as well, right?
Yeah,
and you're
sure.
Yeah. So.
Well, thanks for bringing that up. That was one of the best moments. Like I can genuinely say one of the best moments of my life. I worked at that company for 10 years. And I every time I went in, it was like I was a positive energy amongst people who hated their job. But it was because that was all they had. Like this job was their entire like being. So they're like, dude, I hate being here, because they didn't have anything outside of it. So for me, it was always just like a supplement that I was super grateful for. Like it gave me insurance. They were super lenient with my time off. I really enjoyed being there. But it got to a point where it started changing. It started taking up more time than I wanted to from like having my own business. I felt like I was missing opportunities like to coach, to be an athlete, to like compete. And so then, we had to part ways. I didn't think it would happen, but I always set a goal. Like every year I set a goal, and my goal, I had never written it down. I've always written like, do better here or blah, blah, blah. Like I wrote a goal down to say, quit this job this year. And it was coming towards November and I was reviewing my goals and I was like, dang, I got to quit this job. Like I got a month. And so I just bit the bullet and I told my buddy Chaz, I was like, we got to do it. He's like, all right, let's put a plan in place. And dude, it was amazing. Yeah. It's amazing. Just also, the more I invested, which everyone always said, like once I went full time to Bodega, just more and more opportunities came about, more and more exposure. And like, it's just honestly a dream come true, man.
Yeah. That's awesome. So what would you say are the unique differences between owning and coaching at a gym versus like training and coaching at another gym, like that someone else owns basically?
Yeah. Two things I think to that. Like one of them is when you coach somewhere, you can still be an athlete. I mean, I'm sure some people are just coaches, but you're usually not a full-time coach if you're coaching at somebody else's gym. And if you are, like, there's some instances where that works, I think. But anyway, for me specifically, I felt like an athlete who was coaching to make ends meet.
Yeah.
And so like I would go to class, I would coach, I would train. I used to teach a specific way. I teach differently now. But the difference now is when I open up, like I keep saying, when I open up my own gym, I felt this pressure of these athletes aren't developing the way I want them to. The culture isn't the way I want it to be. And there was no one else to blame. Like previously, if the culture wasn't what I liked, I'd be like, it's not my gym. That would always be my thing. It's not my gym. The athletes aren't developing the way I think. I'm like, they're not really my full athletes. I can only do so much. So that was really a big difference for me, realizing I'm now the role of a coach, not just an athlete. Like I'm really here to develop people, to make sure that people, and I also wanted our culture to represent me. A big part of our culture for me is making sure that they don't try and take life advice from me.
Yeah.
I hated that. Where people are like, oh, he's a black belt, so like ask him questions about your family. It's like, dude, no, like I'm here to teach you jiu-jitsu. I'm here to show you discipline. I'm here to show you the way we do it. But, there's people in much better spaces for that than me. Yeah.
That's an interesting thing when you're transitioning from like doing like the athlete thing as well. When you actually have ownership of your own gym, it's a complete different thing. You can't balance the two, I don't think, very effectively unless you're like super disciplined.
Right. And even then, it's hard. And
I kind of felt that as well when I was kind of working myself to the bone and then just kind of getting worn down trying to train like I used to regularly and stuff like that. And you can't really do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, culture is a really important thing. And the two original owners of our gym, I didn't know this until recently. Shout out to my coach, Andrew. Apparently, when he opened up Arete, the reason why he opened it in 2013, end of 2012, was because he hated the gym he was training at in Thailand. And Jiu-Jitsu hadn't really grown there quite yet. And basically, just the central theme of our gym is every time you leave the gym, you felt like you got something from it, or you feel good. Like you know, that's your happy place, basically.
I love that.
I didn't know that until like a couple of weeks ago. It put a real good smile on my face.
Yeah. I used to always say, like, and I still do at the end of every class, I would say, we all make a lot of mistakes, but this ain't one of them.
Yeah.
Just to remind them, like, dude, I'm okay coaching this. I'm okay at doing it, but it's pretty much it.
Yeah. It's awesome. So, like, if you're going to give anybody, like you're 2 years into Bodega now, so like, what advice would you give someone looking to open their own academy?
Yeah, you know, I've been thinking about this a lot with Gianni. Like, Gianni Grippo trains out of our gym, and he allows me to try and help him develop even in the slightest, which I don't take for granted. I'm super grateful for. There's two parts I realized, like, if you want to open up your gym, something I think a lot of people do is they want to like open up a place, make it fresh, like completely from scratch. And if you don't have the means to do that, you're probably going to go into debt, and then it's probably going to take some time. And a lot of people fail in that space. So, I mean, you can go that route if you have the means, but I feel like a lot of jiu-jitsu guys don't have the means. So my advice would be start, you know, renting a location out of somebody else's space where you can develop clientele, where you can develop a small following, where you can make money right off the gate, right out the gate, you know, and not have to worry about debt, and then slowly use that to reinvest later on into more and more space. So that's something I think is a piece of advice I wish I'd got, and that's what we got with Bodega, and that's why it worked. Like, from the day we opened, we were profitable, and it's only because we share the space with another business, which, you know, there's a give and take there, right? You're not going to be able to do everything you want, but very little risk involved. So my advice would be try to minimize your risk, try to minimize your overhead, and, you know, don't let your pride get ahead of you. You don't need to have the most beautiful space right off the bat if you don't have the means, you know?
Yeah, that's really good advice. Yeah, that's really good. Yeah. So another question would be, what are the biggest what's the biggest challenge in starting your own academy?
Dude, it's so crazy. Like, I thank God every day because I feel like I've had very little challenges. The challenges I have today, talking about them, almost feel like ridiculous. Like, I was very lucky. My business partner owned the space that we're in, or rented the space we're in already with his business, which is a functional movement kind of a workout gym. And we just matted it out and multi-purposed it. So space wasn't an issue for me. Location wasn't an issue for me. The matting was an issue for me. The biggest issue I think we had in the beginning was marketing ourselves, number one. And then number two was dealing with one another, like realizing how to communicate. What I figured out is that we would go a long time without communicating the issues. And then when we did meet up, it was kind of like, you're not doing this, and I'm not, and holding each other accountable for something we didn't even know we needed to do with one another. So keeping communication open was really big. But honestly, I'm very grateful I didn't have many challenges, you know. Now, though, that we're looking for maybe a new space or opening up new places, the challenges I'm learning about and trying to reinvest in is like having a system in place to make sure our coaches teach the way we want, know the things that we know, and convey like our love for people the way we do. On top of that, having a system for signing new students. I think that's something huge that a lot of people don't have. Right? Like, they'll come in like, good training? Yeah, cool. Do you want to sign up? No? All right, no worries. And that's like the end of it. Yeah. Versus having like a system in place, kind of like, you know, you need that, like a little factory belt to like be like, hey, this is the way we do it. Give them like almost no objections and just keep it moving, you know? So those are the hurdles, but we're figuring it out. Yeah.
Our membership system used to be on an Excel spreadsheet, and we just finally put it onto like a gym management software. Sick, dude. It does make a huge difference as well. Because I remember like every day I had to like send out emails to people like, yeah, your membership's due and stuff like that. But now it's just like all automated now. Yeah, we use we use a system called Gym Desk. It's from the US, and I think it not only has like a functional gym option, you also have like jiu-jitsu options, so you can actually like have belts when they're promoted, all that kind of stuff as well. So it's pretty awesome. Yeah,
we've been using bjjlifestyle.
Okay.
One of my buddies, I think, I don't want to be wrong, but I think he owns it or runs it or something along those lines. But they're very good too. Yeah. Obviously, in the name, they're meant for jiu-jitsu guys, so they have that like custom touch.
Because like you can't measure it unless you track it as well, right? Like attendance check-ins and stuff like that.
Yeah,
we haven't gone that far yet, but I find stuff like that's really important.
Yeah, it's useful, and it shows them their attendance. It also has like a first place, second place, third place for like the week kind of thing. But yeah, it's a good system.
That's awesome. All right. So obviously, you as a gym in Bodega, we'll talk about in a second about CLA, ecological training and all that kind of stuff. But what do you think is a distinct feature of like Bodega? Not only the gym culture, but like your competitive team or the coaching staff. Is there anything like distinct?
Yeah, there's a few things. I would think we've said this many times at our gym. We don't let just anybody teach there. Like we've had a few seminars. Our first seminar was Gianni Grippo, and then we had Renee Souza, and then we had Andrew Tackett. And that's kind of the lineup of our seminars. I'm hoping I'm not missing anybody, but I think that's all we've ever had. So we really try to have a standard for who we allow in. So that's something big for us. We won't just let anybody come to coach just because they're a name. So I would say what distinguishes us is like we really try to hold our aesthetic really high. That's really all my business partner Chaz. Like he runs our aesthetic to the ground. Like you come in, everything's always clean, everything's always nice looking, nothing's out of its place. There's never anything, kind of just like miscellaneous hanging out on the floor. So that's a big part of it. Like making sure you have a clean space, nice space. It looks very nice,
It does,
very Instagrammable.
You have the maces up on the wall and stuff like that. It looks so cool.
Nothing to do with me. All Chaz, I swear. Like Chaz and his wife MC, nothing to do with me. So that's one big part. But I think you kind of said not culture, but our culture is like what I think really distinguishes us. Like we train super hard. We're not an easy gym. But everybody who comes to visit loves our whole crew. They're like, dude, they were so welcoming. They were so nice. And one thing now that separates us, we had a women's scholarship where women train for free.
Right.
And we have like a group of 6 women who train for free. And one of the conditions for them is they have to train 3 times a week. So now every time you come in, no matter what, there's women on the mat. And so I think maybe those 2 things are.
That's a great idea.
Yeah. So like there was a few conditions in there, which we're still new. It's only been about a month and a half of doing it, but so far it seems really well working out. 3 times a week they have to train. They have to compete 3 times a year, and they can't be late more than 3 times in all within 90 days. And so we check every like quarter. But it's been working for us. We went from only my girlfriend Vanessa competing, training with us, to now having like 6, 7 girls on the mat consistently.
Yeah. That's awesome.
And in our space, that's a lot. Like, we don't have a large space. Like on average, you can fit 22 people like crammed in there.
Yeah. Do you have like a restriction on how many people can be on the mat at one time? Like, like people are like, you can do this a lot more with like fitness class and stuff like that. Where like, I want to check in for the yoga class and stuff like that. Yeah. We
don't yet because we never had that issue, but we're starting to run into that.
Yeah.
And we've been talking about it where I want to be like my business partner Chaz always says we want to be bursting at the seams before we move to a new space.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is another piece of advice, very, very, I think, wise to do that. So anyway, we're not at that point yet, but we've been talking about maybe having to have a check-in process where you have to check in before coming to class. So what we've been doing to kind of counteract that is we've opened up more classes, made some or we call it Genesis, like beginning classes. Then we have some all levels. We open up some morning classes. So we're trying to do that to offset the
traffic that you get, basically.
But there's days where it's like we have 26 and it's unbearable. Like we can't do anything yet.
Yeah. It can like suddenly become like a liability issue as well.
Sure.
With too many people on the mats.
For sure.
Like that. Yeah. I don't know if you knew Dorothy before yesterday.
No, I didn't know her.
Yeah. But we did a podcast with her, and I think one of her biggest issues was when she was coming through the belt ranks. It was like kind of like she would just try and roll with everyone super hard. And one issue that she really hated was the fact that people would fall on, like if the mats were too busy, like people bumping into you and stuff like that. I have another friend who was down in Phuket, and they're training at this gym called Temple. Aesthetically beautiful gym, but the mat space wasn't that big.
Sure.
And I think he had his back turned to someone, and he was in the middle of the roll, and someone just fell directly on his neck.
Dang.
And he was out for like nearly a year. So it's like, spacing. Yeah, spacing's very important. Yeah.
Yeah, we unfortunately have like a story like that, but it was very eye-opening. It's very, very, very eye-opening. And so we learned a lot from it. I'm super aware of it. Certain rules now, like, you can't rest with your back to the inside of the mat. Always have your back to the out of the mat. Be super aware of your space. Don't run standing positions when it's super crowded. Like somebody pull guard, Yeah.
That's really good. Yeah. Another one is don't have your arm extended out as well, like with your elbow locked out.
Yep.
Yeah.
We have a very unfortunate story with that one. Yeah.
Yeah. So getting into it now. So you just arrived to Bangkok on Monday. Today's Wednesday, and we're fortunate enough to have you teaching a ecological class on Tuesday, which was awesome. I mean, I've been looking at what people are doing with like the ecological methodology of jiu-jitsu, but like I'd never actually experienced a class live before. And after going through the class, all I can think about, like the only word that came up to my head was that was probably the most productive training session I've had in a very long time in terms of the class structure. So yeah, I really appreciated it.
Thanks, man. I'm glad you liked it.
Yeah. And so yeah, you said you started like 8 months into Bodega, you started like realizing, okay, like if I want to implement this properly, I'm gonna have to actually like find the research,
right,
etc. So you're having small successes, just doing a little bit of research initially, and you kind of went to the source, which is currently standard jiu-jitsu. How did that come about?
Yeah. So, I mean, you know, I've talked about it before, so I'll give like just a quick recap just so we don't spend, too much time on it. But basically I saw a reel, that said, quit wasting your time drilling. And I immediately saw the merit. I didn't realize who it was. Later on, I realized I've seen this guy a bunch at finishers. I'm talking about Greg Souders. He put up this reel. It was like, don't waste your time drilling. Here are 3 games to help you with it. And I can immediately see, I was like, that's basically the technique broken up into tasks. I was like, dude, that's awesome. I really like that already. I immediately could see the merit. And so then I tried to take it and apply it to certain things. But then I realized, I was like, wait, he's doing this for his entire class. And then I was like, wait a minute, he does this. This is the only way he teaches. Wait a minute, he doesn't use technique in there, like showing them a specific prescriptive how-to. And I was just so intrigued. And when I started reading on the research and reading like the books, and I had like a conversation with Robert Gray, the guy who wrote the books, I realized I wasn't doing it correctly at all. And that was a big eye opener. I was like, wait a minute, there's a way to learn skills. There's a way to learn how we move without, or I was just doing it wrong. I was like, it's without telling them prescriptively, here's what needs to be done. And it just fascinated me. At first, to be honest, I almost took it as a challenge. Like, I was like, I want this behavior to come out of their training, but I don't want to tell them that's the behavior I want. Yeah. And I was like, that is so fascinating for me. I was like, how do I design or construct a training session where the behavior I want emerges without me telling them that's the behavior I want? And then once I realized I could do it with a few things, I started getting stuck. I started reaching out to him, and he's been amazing to me. He's been super nice to me, and he's just like so gracious with his time, and he literally held no secrets back. Yeah. And so that's kind of how I got involved with that. And I can honestly say the interactions I've had with Greg have all been amazing, and he's only been helpful to me. Yeah. Sometimes on social media, you can see him, like, he can probably rub people up the wrong way. And then obviously when you're trying to change tradition, it can be like, it can cause issues. Yeah. I always say the same thing, and it's true. Like, imagine you being told by everybody that you're wrong about something, but nobody knows what you're wrong about. Like, that's brutal. You know, I think I'd be pretty pissed and agitated with a lot of people too. Yeah. What I found really interesting was like you said, like, oh, I would kill drilling. I was amazing at drilling. And he just said, but yeah, when someone added a little fuck you in there, it was like really hard to implement it or like how to execute it. And it's when you said it as well in the middle of the class yesterday, it's like, oh, who knows how to do a mounted armbar? Okay. How many times have you done successfully during like a competition or during a roll? And then everyone just put their hands down. And I was like, damn. Okay. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. For me, it was really eye-opening because, like, I heard that once. It was like, the more and more you read this, the more you start questioning your whole existence in jiu-jitsu and your whole approach to jiu-jitsu. And it's like, I know all of these techniques, right? Like, when you're rolling with a white belt, they always say, like, dude, you just know exactly what I'm going to do before I do it. Yeah. And, like, if they really could look in my brain, they'd know that I'm not picking out the designated technique to what they're doing or having the counter ready. Like, it's not a muscle memory where I'm like, here's the, no, for me, it was like, I'm just actively in those moments or positions and experiencing that environment more than you. And so I'm just one step ahead of you, not 5 steps ahead of you. But that was, is it really just what this approach has really done for me is just really challenged me and my thinking and my thought process and how we learn and how I've learned. And yeah.
what I really like about it as well, one of the eye-opening things yesterday was Dorothy actually said I got to cover a couple of classes when a couple of coaches were traveling, and she pretty much taught the same way you did. But then after she said, I did a few things wrong, but yeah, I took a lot away from that as well. And she's been a black belt for a few years now.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, like knowing a technique versus being able to do it. So like everyone can drill the mounted armbar, right? But then last night I'm like, hey, I started you in that position. How many of you finished it? How many of you did it every time? Does that mean you know it? Or have you perfected it?
Yeah.
Is there a perfect technique if you can't do it every time? And I've had those consistent challenges over and over, you know?
Yeah. Another thing I really liked was, so we're in S mount from the armbar, for example. And you said, okay, this is your goals. You can go to level 1, level 2, or level 3. And I just thought, I'll go up to level 3, no problem, which is the most difficult to do and the most challenging to do. And I was like, oh shit, I can't even do level, I'm hit or miss with the level 2. Crap. Right. Yeah, I really need to tighten that up as well. And when we're working in the mount portion of the game, or with double unders, for example, what I really liked about it was I can actually actively feel where my drilling partner didn't quite get right.
Right.
Like, he's trying to extend my elbows up, but then all of a sudden he starts grabbing my wrists and he loses my elbows. I'm like, this is why you're losing the position. What's going on?
Right.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a huge eye opener. Like it fills in a lot of positions that we overlook. A lot of times especially me, when you teach technique, you're like, all right, guys, let's start here. We're going to get the underhook and then we'll move to the next thing. And it's like in live, how hard is it to get the underhook, right?
Exactly.
It's not easy. So it's like those areas, those skills need to be worked on, and they're rarely worked on, especially situational, like start from the closed guard. And it's like, how do you get them in the closed guard? Right? Have you worked the skill of getting them in the closed guard? Stuff like that. It is super eye-opening. And for me, what was coolest was seeing a brand new off the street person do it down all the way to, or up all the way to someone like Gianni Grippo, where it's like he has so many tools in his arsenal. And I'm like, how do I add tools? How do I expose some areas where his tools don't work? Yeah. And then with you guys, I'm like, he has no tools. Let's provide some positions where we'll give him the tools. And I've been loving it, man. It's so fun. It's so fun. Yeah.
I really enjoy, we did it an hour, but man, that was like, we got so much out of that class. I really, really enjoyed it. Yeah. And another thing I really loved is when I watch you guys training together, just leading up to the match on Saturday morning.
Sure.
For one is he asks you for help. Like he asks you for advice or tips and stuff like that during the training, like, do more, what do you think? Yeah. Or do you think I should specify this for the game instead? And he's actually asking you. Yeah. And a lot of guys are super high level. Well, some of them seem arrogant on social media and stuff like that, but he's always a student. And I really having that mindset is so important, I think. Seeing someone of that caliber, it's being that receptive is amazing.
For sure. It's insane to me that he listens to me. Yeah. Every time that people say that, they're like, he asked you for this. And I'm like, I know. I was like, I'm in the same boat where I'm like, I have no idea. But I think it's because we developed a relationship and it started with me just coaching him, literally just going out, to the events and just coaching him. And he was like, I like the way you coach. And then it became more of a friendship and a relationship of hey, I just want you there in my corner for moral support. And then over time, I think this is how I'm looking back on it. I was like, hey, did you try doing this? I noticed that. And then over time it went into our training, and now it's just he has this trust in me, and it's I don't take it for granted because a lot of people see it. Yeah. But we had a conversation where I was like, hey man, he wanted to open up a school, and he still does. That's the goal down the road. But he was in an area where he's putting so much effort and force into trying to open up a school that his training was taking a hit. And I was like, hey man, you need to if you want to compete for however amount of time you have left to compete, you got to focus 100%, and you need a coach. And I was like, I'm not the best coach in the world, but I was like, I'll be the best coach for you. I promise, I'll put my full effort. For Gabe Souza that he has this weekend, I put up a 27-minute video editing a bunch of constant patterns that I saw in Gabe's game, how he beat him previously, some errors I see, some flaws I see in Gabe's positions. So much so that I had to bring it down to 7 minutes so Gianni would actually watch it, because otherwise, but anyway, so it was a give and take. I think I brought a better athlete out of Gianni, but he definitely made a better coach out of me. Yeah.
That relationship's really important as well. Cause what I've noticed is, Another thing is, if they don't like you, they're never going to listen to you, right? Like you can be the greatest coach in the world, but if you're a dickhead, no one's ever going to listen to you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. You know, there's it's funny enough, like in my, I don't want to shout out the company, but in my previous job, there was this idea of building rapport, right? And it's like, if you want to give someone feedback, but you have no rapport, like that feedback is either going to be taken wrong or you're just going to be like, you know, screw this guy. So yeah, it's such a big thing. And I've always taken that into account. So I don't try to give people advice unwarranted or who don't have a relationship with me. Yeah. Like a lot of times you see black belts go to other schools and be like, you know what you're doing wrong, da, da, da. And like, I always used to be like, oh dude, that guy sucks. Like you suck, dude. If you didn't ask you for that, like, why are you just giving it to them? But if you build that rapport, suddenly they know it's in their best interest. If there's no rapport or like a relationship, a lot of time it feels like they're just trying to feed their own ego. Like, hey, let me just show you the things I know. Let me show you all my information I have and how much better I am than you, you know? And I think with Gianni, he realized it's not that with me at all. I want him to succeed. I want him to do better. Every time that we do anything, he realizes I'm there for his best interest. And I do that with all of my students.
Yeah, it takes years to build that as well.
Yeah, I'm still learning, you know, like I haven't perfected it. But then I also realized like people like Danaher or people like Greg Souders or people like Andre Galvao, that's what they do. They just invest in people. And that's like, that's the secret. Like having someone behind you who supports you, who wants you to succeed goes so much further, in my opinion, than a lot of the methodology.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Another thing I found is, I mean, you're 2 years in right now with Arete. I think we're about 10 years in now.
That's cool.
And before COVID, when the gym was at a different location, they would hire people in and get them like work visas in Thailand and stuff like that, basically. Cool. And what we found was a couple of things that I changed once I became a partner in the business was, number one, we needed like a white belt program.
Yeah.
Like fundamentals program.
Yeah, you need it.
I think, just like lead in for sure. And another thing was instead of like trying to like recruit someone or find someone, because like you don't know, like they could like you get like a CV and everything on paper seems fine, but they could be like, you know, they could be a complete womanizer and try and stick with all the students. That's true too. Like I've heard of hundreds of gyms that shut down because of that, basically. Right?
Very common.
Yes. It is very common, right? Shockingly common. But what we found was, especially like with fundamentals program, for example, why don't we cultivate like our members, like the purple belts, and like get like the ones that we know care about the gym, has bought into the culture, and just give them a little bit of responsibility. Oh yeah, you know.
I agree. I agree wholeheartedly. Like we have a blue belt and it's also really important, like that for me, a lot of times when people are put into the instructor position, they suddenly start to have this like air of like, oh, I know he believes in me so much that I know what's going on. I know everything. Like we make sure, like we say, we don't let anybody teach our gym, that the people that we put in, like we have this guy, Ian, Ian's the man. He's was in the military. Every time I say something, he's like, dude, you tell me what it is. And I believe in it so much that I feel pressure that I'm like, dude, I don't know everything. Like just relax. But we put him in a position to coach and he's just so open-minded. Like if he doesn't know the answer, he's like, I don't know. Let's find out. Like, I don't know. He doesn't, like a lot of people won't do that. Hey, like what's the answer? They'll make some shit up on the fly. Like, oh, you know what? Try this. And that happens so much because you don't want to look dumb. You want to look intelligent. But I think you actually show more intelligence by being like, I actually don't know the answer to this. You know, let's find that out together kind of thing. But yeah, I agree. So anywhere I was getting with that was he's a blue belt in our school. More people resonate with him as the instructor than they would if I got like, hey, here's this 4-time world champ who, you know, has no rapport with you. Like with Gianni, I wanted him to teach in my school. And I was like, I want you to teach in my school, but you got to get to know my guys first. Like, I'm not just going to throw you in there. And dude, after a few months, everyone's like, dude, Gianni rules. And did you know he's like amazing? And yeah. I've
got a really good story with that actually. So, my mom lives in Scotland. She's half Scottish, half Japanese. That means I'm 3/4 Japanese, 25% Scottish. Dad doesn't really celebrate Christmas because he's Japanese, but my mom does, obviously, because she's from the UK. And I would go back and visit her for Christmas. And obviously, when I'm traveling to the UK to train, I'll just you don't really have much to do, so you're going to go train at the other gyms. And I went to this one gym in Glasgow, in Scotland, where my mom recently moved to, because she used to live in the middle of this little town in the middle of nowhere, and now she's in a big city. And I met this guy, and just happened to be that he was teaching that class. It was very serendipitous almost, because like he's not a full-time coach there. He was only a purple belt at the time, and he was a police officer. Cool. He actually taught our gym for 7 months, and I don't want to say I stalked him, but I did stalk him. My first impression with him was really good, and just kind of like I followed where he went and what he was doing and stuff like that. Competitively, he's relatively successful.
Sure.
He's got a great relationship with his wife. Obviously, he's a police officer too, and he was just traveling around, and we kind of like messaged each other back and forth, and then eventually he taught the gym, and like we only used to have one nogi class a week at our gym.
Oh.
And once I moved back to Thailand from Myanmar, I was like, I want to implement more nogi classes. There was a little bit of resistance initially, just because it used to be traditionally a gi school. But now we've implemented a little bit of nogi. We're going to try and add more. But I just thought, okay, I'll try and he's traveling anyway. Let's get him to teach.
Right.
In 7 months, he left a great impression. Now, like everyone loves nogi at the school. Now, well, a lot of people like nogi.
It looked like they love nogi.
Yeah. And then obviously you met the national team guys as well. They're really they're starting to calm down a little bit. Yeah, but obviously like. But they get paid to compete, right? And they're representing their country.
But what are they representing? I was so confused. Is it jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, it's Newaza. So there's something called JJAU.
Okay.
So basically, you know how they put in Abu Dhabi, they've put jiu-jitsu into the school curriculum now,
sure.
right? So there's a lot. So all that oil money is going into it, and now they basically want to nationalize it or internationalize it, where they have competitions. So you have
cool.
Now
That's
there's something called the Jiu-Jitsu Association of Thailand now. So the old judo guys from the Air Force, the Royal Thai Air Force, came to my coach, and he started teaching them jiu-jitsu. And then, because like we need to start getting ready, because like there's going to be Nawaza in the events basically. So you have all these like young kids that join the military, Air Force, and now they're doing jiu-jitsu. And they now have regional university events now.
Dang.
So one of my old Burmese students, the university shut down there in Myanmar just because of the military coup, and he moved to Chiang Mai, which is up in the north, and he's basically paid for his tuition for 4 years
with jiu-jitsu.
With Nawaza, yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Or with grappling, Nawaza.
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing.
Wow.
Yeah, so...
that's really cool.
Yeah, exactly. So you have like the Philippine national team, you have the Cambodian national team, you have Vietnam, all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's still growing, and obviously...
Sure.
Like America's...
Now I understand, though. Got it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so you have like first world countries like the US, but obviously Thailand is still coming up, is on the up and up, but you still class as a second world country.
Yeah.
So I don't want to say in a negative way, obviously, but it's like with these kind of countries... they all have their challenges with corruption and stuff like that as well.
Sure.
Because I had this guy called Dedi Wigraha, who's like the Indonesian national team head coach, but they have different states. So that means that there's different principalities that have their own ideas, and they're all athletes. They want to, exactly, and they want to push. So the funding gets fractured, number one, and then like they want to like obviously push their students into it and stuff like that.
Wow.
Yeah, and like a really good example of this would be like Vietnam. So once they nationalized the sport, all the competition just died out of nowhere.
Dang.
Yeah, and then in terms of, and they're not allowed to train out with. They're like jiu-jitsu exploding in Vietnam. There's like great gyms, there's great coaches there now, but the national team, when they're training, they just fly someone,
isolate them.
Yeah, isolate them. It's weird, right?
Yeah. That is weird.
Yeah.
I don't understand what the benefit of that is.
Yeah, there isn't.
Yeah, like what's the...
Yeah, but the amazing thing now is like you have a lot of like poor Thai kids, for example, like to get into university, if they win medals,
that's incredible.
They get the tuition.
That's so great.
Yeah. Like one of the younger kids that you met yesterday, one of the short kids with the braces in, he's like probably the top guy in the group right now, because after your service is over, you just go into like normal daily civilian life basically. Dang. But he's doing really well, and he was raised by his grandmother, and like he just his competitive success is really opening doors for him as well.
Good for him. That's a great success story.
Yeah. So want to pivot a little bit?
Sure.
So in terms of competition, like submission grappling, gi, jiu-jitsu, what rule sets do you favor the most? Both as a spectator and as a competitor, because obviously last year was a big coming out party for jiu-jitsu in terms of like CJI and ADCC and stuff like that.
Yeah, prior to CJI, I thought ADCC was one of the most fun ones, just because it forces people into uncomfortable situations. I think anything that forces someone to not play their normal game is fun for spectating. Like, oh, watch the guard puller have to wrestle, or watch the good wrestler have to face a guard puller. Like, I always like that. So ADCC was really fun. I enjoyed it, but the rule set is just too complicated for jiu-jitsu people, even for jiu-jitsu people. But CJI, you know, it's like, I hate to just jump on the bandwagon, but it was just so easy to follow. Like, this person is like ahead or per round, and then you could see like, oh, that guy has to do more now. And so that was really cool. I really like the who's number, like, to be honest, I like it all. I just like all jiu-jitsu. But the who's number one, if CJI did this too, I would like it. Like, the idea of like red corners winning, blue corners winning, and puts a little fire under them.
Incentivized.
But CJI kind of does that with the rounds. But if a submission happens, you never get to know who was winning in that point. Anyway, my answer would be, I think CJI's rules of like the 10-10 and then 3 rounds right now is my favorite rule set to compete in. It's tough. Like, I used to love sub only, but if it's an EBIOT, I'm starting to hate it. Like, I had 2 matches.
Game the system now, right?
Yeah, like I had these 2 matches against 2 guys who were great guys, but like I watched it back and I'm like, dude, I can make the best highlight video out of this like 10-minute round with them, and then OT I lose, and I'm like, dude, it's just, maybe I need to work on OT and defense more, but I think I was so mad I even got to that position.
But the thing is that they're kind of putting a lot more energy into defense, right? So they're trying to weigh out the 10 minutes so they can beat you in OT.
I don't even know, you know, these 2 specifically, I don't know if they waited it out. Like I was trying my hardest, I just couldn't sub them. But anyway, that's my flaw with that. I like the idea of like a sub only followed by some sort of definitive OT that isn't such an advantage, like EBIOT, to compete in specifically. So I really love the sub only because I don't have to worry about getting swept. I don't have to worry about someone passing. Like, I can work my game, but I don't like the EBIOT that much, you know, but either I'll compete at whatever I want though. Like, I don't ever not do something for a rule set. I've competed at ADCC, IBJJF. I did a CGI match. I've done, not CGI, but CGI rule set, EBIOT. Like, I'll compete in all of it. I just love jiu-jitsu, and I love the idea of changing your game to match that rule set. You know, I love that.
Yeah. What I liked about ADCC was it kind of like started to hybridizing wrestling a little bit more, because you get penalized for playing guard too much.
For sure.
I remember hearing a story about how Buchecha said in 2012, like lapel 50-50 was going to kill sport jiu-jitsu.
God, yeah.
It is true though, right? I don't want to watch that shit. You know, and I remember I had an interview with Shazinski, Matej Shazinski and Kamal, because they did a leg lock camp down in Phuket, which was awesome. And they were just trying to explain, like they're extremely popular in terms of doing seminars. It's because they're finishers. The matches are exciting. They go for the kill, right? Yeah. There's that guy from the UK, Taylor Pearman, who won the UK trials the last time around. But then whoever they went up against with kind of played it. I don't know how to say it without being rude, but like they played a negative game where they don't do they don't do jiu-jitsu. Sure. You know what I mean? And but he just says, like finishers sell more at the end of the day, right? They fly all over the world to do seminars. They even went to Tokyo. Yeah. I mean, they're like known as leg lock guys from Poland, but they were inspired by Imanari, for example. Right. And like I remember he was just saying like his hands were shaking because he was so excited about being able to teaching like in Imanari's gym and stuff like that. Right. Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah. Like I agree. Definitely finishers do get booked more. I was just gonna say but it's also how you market yourselves.
That's true. Yeah.
Like Gianni is an example of someone who's a finisher. Like I think we were going over his numbers at the one commentators, and they're like, "Is it right that you've had like 300 matches and like over 90 submissions?" And Gianni's like, "Yeah, that sounds right." And I was like, dang, dude, like you're finishing a third of your matches, but it's just like he's doing it in tournaments where not everybody has his eyes on him. You know what I mean? Like where there's multiple matches. Yeah. So, I mean, maybe that wasn't really a part of what you were saying, but I was just saying, I don't think that getting seminars really translates from your competition necessarily. Yeah. You know,
marketing yourself is really important as well. Yeah. That actually leads me into the next question. Like your social, like, I don't know if you had a plan to like set out like your social media strategy, but you're extremely popular in social media, right? Was that just something you did organically and then it just suddenly like built momentum, like a snowball effect, basically? How did that happen?
You know, it's funny. I haven't really talked about this that much, but I went to school for film. Right. Okay. And like 2 years in, my parents are both immigrants. They're like, "You're not doing this shit. Like you're like you Steven Spielberg. Like they're like, you're not doing this shit." And so I always had the love for film. Like I've always, since I was little, like I'm not to go on a full rant here, but since I was young, I used to be really into skateboarding, and I saw like people sponsor me videos, and like I'm old enough where it was like there was no editing software. They were doing it on VHS, so they would just like start record, and I stole my grandma's, or borrowed because I gave it back, her camcorder, and I was recording all my buddies, and I immediately could see, I was like, oh, I can build something, I can build a story, and I was like, I want to say like 8, 9 years old. And then like up till 14, I kept doing it. And then at like 15, I got my first computer from school, and I like hacked it. It wasn't really hacking, but we like jailbroke it, and we added Sony Vegas, which was like an editing software. And I just started making a bunch of videos. So it's my love for film and content and movies. My dad instilled that in me. He would always, like, whenever we were like doing anything, a reward would be a movie. And I used to love Ace Ventura. So that's how, I should say Jim Carrey, but Ace Ventura was my favorite movie. And those two things kind of merged. I was like, I love telling stories, but I love the humor more than anything. My dad and I would like joke with these Jim Carrey movies, and my sister too, all the time. So then it just kind of naturally happened over time. When I was in college, Vine was really popular. And so I made like a bunch of Vines, and they would go kind of viral for the time. And I was like, oh, I could do this. And then Vine just disappeared. And I just kind of stopped doing it. But I made a couple videos on YouTube, but they got like 1 million views. And I was like, oh, this is cool. But I didn't think anything of it. There wasn't really money. And then I kept seeing, like, COVID happened, and I posted my first video, which is a video pretending to be my white neighbors. Right. And it was like, hey, Steve, how you doing? And it's like, he's like lifting his pants and just doing like funny stuff. And it went viral. It hit like 2-point-something million views. And I was like, oh, that's from me posting it. I like forgot about it. I woke up, and it was like, you have over like 40,000 messages. And I was like, what the heck? And then it was like, hey, you're eligible for monetization. And I was like, I'd never even heard that word. I remember I was like, what the hell is monetization? Like, you can make money. I was like, you can make money doing this? And I was like, dude, stop. So I started researching, just like in jiu-jitsu, when you want to get better at something, you're like looking up what people are doing, how to do it best, most efficient ways. And I was like, post every day, but I never wanted to lose the quality of the humor. So I was like, even if the content like doesn't look like the highest quality video, I want to make sure that the humor is still good, like clever, quick, funny, you can get it right away. And so I was like, let me derive where most of my humor comes from, my parents, them being like immigrants. That was like a big part of it. So immediately my plan was like, make money. I didn't care about the followers. I didn't care about like having exposure. I was like, just make money doing it. And then TikTok throughout COVID like paid my rent for a while, which was like amazing. Which was amazing, right? And then I started getting some followers, and I was like, oh, I could actually like do this. Let me try this with Instagram, because I started with TikTok. I was like, let me just post it on Instagram. And then my Instagram blew up. And I was like, let me try it on YouTube. And then my Instagram blew up. But I got bored of posting it every day. I also got bored of like being the guy who's like wearing wigs and doing skits. And like, I was like, I don't want to be that dude. Like, I really love jiu-jitsu. I opened at the gym, and I was like, you know what? Like, I'll post when I want to now. I don't care about gaining more and more followers. But I don't take for granted the exposure it allows me now. Like, dude, people wouldn't have me on their podcast if it weren't for those funny memes of my family, you know? So, I mean, just to answer your question, I guess I did plan to make money. So, which required some growth, but more than anything, it required engagement. They didn't have to follow me. They just had to engage with my content. So my plan was get people to engage, be funny. Like, and I remember being on like a pretty good trend. Once I hit like 40K on all the platforms, I was just like, I'll post when I want. Like, I don't need more followers. I just want the same amount of money.
I mean, that's when I started seeing you as well. I mean, one of the ones I really loved was the one when you're like shouting out people's name. Oh yeah, he's probably gonna win that match. It's so true though. Dude, you know what I mean? Yeah, it's pretty awesome.
Thanks, man. Gianni has this like ongoing joke where he's always like, you know who I used to be? Who used to be my coach? He's like, Marcelo Garcia. He's like, you know who my coach is now? He's like, this freaking this fucking idiot.
Man, yeah, it's awesome.
I got DQ'd recently. I went against like a very, very admirable opponent, very good opponent, and he had me north. He was like beating me. I was having a rough go, but he wasn't able to sub me, and he had me north south. And like I just made this gesture of like putting my finger up his ass, and I was just being dumb, right? And it was IBJJF, so the guy's like, "Paro," and I was like, am I about to get DQ'd? And then he sat me down. He's on the thing, and you can tell the guy was like what did you do? And he's like,
Yeah.
And then I look at the table of where he was talking. He's like, this guy's saying he put his finger in his ass. And I was like, dude, they DQ'd me. And Gianni, once I got off, was like so upset. And I was like, what are you upset about? He's like, dude, you're my coach now.
Yeah.
So you can't be doing, it was just this realization, like, kind of have to put this like funny guy separate from, you know what I mean? So that's kind of where I'm transitioning to now, but I love being the funny guy. So like, it's not like it's ever going to stop.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually a really good point. Like once you're in a certain like position, you really have to carry yourself differently. Yeah. And I think I've learned that as I got older as well. I mean, it doesn't mean you have to change your entire personality. For sure. But there's certain things you have to be a little bit more careful about. Yeah. I think one of the main ones I actually realized as well was when I started working and coaching at Arete, for example, like social events, like a Christmas party and a year's parties, when you're trying to like tie that into like belt ceremonies and stuff like that as well, right? Yes. You've got to be very careful about how you interact with people. Not only like politics and stuff like that, obviously, because that can be polarizing, but obviously if you have kids classes, what the parents see.
That's a great point. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Another one was like interacting with I like to say thanks for the role to girls.
Oh, for sure. You know, I like that I had a really eye-opening moment with that too. I'm not going to dive too much into it, but like I would, you know, when I was teaching, I consider all these people my friends. Yeah. And it's not that they're not. Of course they're your friends, but I treated them as if they're people that like, hey, I'm throwing my birthday party. Like, let's go hang out, or like, let's go to the bar on the weekend. But then you realize, like, you know, you can't, you have to carry yourself differently. Exactly. Like I definitely learned a lot and changed a lot from those events, but it was just this understanding of like, there's a relationship there. Like they're paying you to be their instructor. You have this power over them. Like it was a really eye-opening experience for me, but yeah, I get what you're saying completely. Yeah. So yeah, for me, it's like, I don't want anything to be misconstrued. Sure. And obviously, like, you kind of got to tone down your language sometimes as well, right? Obviously. But it's like, I think I remember I came back to Thailand and I was good friends with someone, a female that's in the jiu-jitsu community, basically. And apparently she told one of my female students, oh yeah, like, apparently you slid in her DMs. I was like, no, I fucking didn't. Dang. I got so angry about that. I blocked her and everything, but I just thought, okay, now I've got to be very careful about what words I use when I'm messaging people and stuff like that, especially people in my gym. Yeah. And number one of the strictest rules I have is don't sleep, like, if you can help it, don't have a relationship in your gym, basically. You know, and I try and I obviously discourage the coaches from doing that as well. Sure. And I like, student to student as well. Sometimes it can get messy. If people are adults about it and keep it private, it's completely fine. But yeah, sometimes it can get a little bit messy, and you get like put into the tornado, basically, right? Or they leave the gym, you know? It's weird, like, because like you're in a community of people, and if you're single, it's like you start, you know, you can inevitably, you spend more and more time with them. You think he's a funny guy or whatever, or you think she's funny, and then you guys end up, but like, it's such a weird space. Like there's all these messages and Instagram reels and stuff that's like, don't have a relationship in your gym. And it's like, yeah, for sure. But like, how do you avoid? Yeah, it's a tricky place to be, but I think as far as an instructor, like that's lessons I've learned. Like you can't be with anyone like that. You can't interact with people like that. Keep it super professional, you know. Yeah, for sure. Yeah. Absolutely. I think there's growing pains, but like, you know, you got to go through it. Absolutely. Yeah. So tell me about this match. Yeah, you know, this is one of my favorite matches for so many reasons. I think it's Pans 2022. It's my favorite match because I spent the night with Renee Souza. We had never met each other prior to this, and this led us to be like very close friends moving forward. Renee being the buggy guy at this time. It's my maybe third or fourth, or I should say second or third time at Pans. And this match specifically, I'm losing, I don't know if I want to give it away, but I was losing like 12-0. And Renee, you could see Renee in the background, is just coaching me through everything. I barely know him, but I know he's the buggy choke guy. So, I mean, if you want to go through it, I'll talk about like why it was so relevant for me. But it's one of my favorite matches it's, you know, I think it's a great story. Just in case it's not too like, for sure. Stuff like that. So this is at the 6-minute mark of the video, and
The score right now is 8-0.
Yeah, I'm getting worked. Oh, actually, you know what? Now I remember, actually, if you, one of the biggest issues I had with this match. All right. So if you know IBJJF, they disqualify you if you don't weigh in at a certain time.
Yeah.
This guy's a Gracie Baja guy. Okay. Can we start with this? All right. It's like the match is at like 12.
Yeah.
All right. It's 12:30. He hasn't weighed in. I'm already in the bullpen weighed in. And I'll go, hey, what's up? Like, the guy hasn't weighed in. Isn't there like a DQ? The ref comes back. He's like, guy's disqualified. Don't worry. He's disqualified.
Yeah.
You're on to the next round. I'm already stoked, ready to celebrate. I'm like going into the stands, eating Açaí. I'm going to day 2 of pants. I'm like on top of the world. I did nothing. Day 2. Let's go. An hour later, like an hour and a half later, I get over the monitors. They're like, well, Kyvann Gonzalez, report for weigh-in. And I come back. I was like, hey, I was like, you're mistaken, dude. Like, I'm on the day 2. My guy got disqualified. They're like, no, your guy's right here. And I look at him and I was like, wait, that's the guy who was running laps, cutting weight.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, he got DQ'd. Like, you know, he was DQ'd. And they're like, no. I was like, no. I'm not fighting this dude. He got DQ'd. I went to the table. They're like, man, I don't know what to say. He's from Gracie Baja. I was like, dude, this is ridiculous. So I was furious. I was like, I'm going to kick this guy's ass. We had our match. I was losing 8-0. I was like, God damn it, dude. I'm losing to the guy who was cutting weight. I was furious. But anyway, that's why I was so, now I remember, that's why I was so beat up about it. And Renee's like, dude, it's out of your control. Just flow with the go, having fun. And it's just sucked to be losing as much as I was.
Yeah,
so he passes me, all right? Like, I think he took me down once. He like passed me or swept me. And Renee's in the stands yelling out, buggy. So I throw up my version of a buggy. And I could hear this dude like snoring and he's gargling. I thought he was going to go out. I tried really hard. After we broke down why he thinks it didn't work, but I just think this guy didn't want to tap. So I slapped on my first buggy ever. I had never done a buggy in my life. Renee Souza is literally coaching me through how to do this buggy. And we talk about this moment over and over because like I literally never done a buggy before. This is a pretty legit locked in buggy, but he just wasn't tapping. I think he gets out and then I start like playing my guard back. Yeah, if you want to fast forward to the second spot. So like I'm already losing 8-0 at this point. He's just working me left and right, but I can kind of feel the tides turning a little bit. I feel his like wind disappearing. I was like, all right, I'm going to lose this match. I already assumed. Cool. So now I'm like, all right, I got my guard back. Let's see what I can do. I can hear him kind of huffing and puffing. I was like, dude, I got to shoot something up at him. So I did this tricky little entrance here.
Oh.
It was nice. Jumped into like a 50-50. I was like, I'm just going to break this dude's foot off. I managed to get the heel, and I could feel like right here. I felt a little pop, and you could see him wincing.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, like I like literally felt his foot pop. His knee gave a little like there was a little give, and he like just wouldn't tap to it. But I remember that moment. I was like, I'm gonna break this guy, and I popped him, and he didn't do anything. I wouldn't either. He's winning 8-0. You know?
Yeah.
So that was like a really good moment in it. He's still winning 8-0. If you go to the next one, no, it's just like later on.
12:50.
Something like that, yeah. So like if you can see it, I've gotten points back now at this point. Like I swept them, I got to mount, I like passed them, I got another sweep, and now it's 11-9. And like Renee, you can see Renee, one of my buddies over here. I think my buddy Ray from 10 Planet is over there, and he's over there with his girl Cece, and they're like, come on, Kyvann, you can win. There's 2 minutes left, and I was like, I just need like 3 points to get ahead of this guy.
And he knows he's ahead as well.
Yeah, and I hear him puffing, so I was like, I got to go hard right now. And I can take this breath, and I just hit this drag, and I was like, did he just fall to his knees? Like, I remember doing the drag, like, I'm on this guy's back. So my mind, like, I have a hook in. I was like, I just got to put the hook in. Like, I got to win. And I had that realization, but he just wouldn't give me the room for it, and he just left his neck open. I was like, I'm just going to strangle this dude. Yeah, so I was like, one or the other. Either bring your hands up, I'll get the hook, or keep your hands down, and I'll get the strangle. And thankfully, like right here, you could see them going crazy. Like, just strangle him. I was stoked on this. I hit the RNC on him. I just like crushed as hard as I could with one hook, dude. And like it was such. I'm like yelling at Renee. I was like, "It's all you!" Like Renee's on top of the world. It was such an incredible moment for me. Funny story after this. I get a message from a dude from Flow, and I forgot his name, so I'm sorry if he hears this. I forgot his name. But he's like, hey, man, saw your match. Incredible. Really excited to see what you do tomorrow. And I was like, dude, Flow's checking me out. I was like on top of the world. The next day, I go against this dude, Richar, and he like takes me down in 30 seconds, chokes me out. I was like, thanks for watching. Like, sick. Yeah. Awesome. But yeah, it's one of my favorite matches. I'll never forget. It got me to day 2. I was furious at him. I came back from like 8-0 to 11-0 to 11-9 and then strangled him. And just like, you could just see the look of defeat in his face. I was like, that's what you get for cutting all that weight, making me wait. Dude, I'm in a full stomach of Açaí, bro. Yeah, infuriating.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the first question is, what's your most unpopular BJJ opinion?
Most jiu-jitsu guys are very flawed humans.
Yeah. Is there a move or technique you think is completely overrated?
All of them.
Oh. All right, fair enough. Okay, that's enough said. Yeah,
I'm shooting from the hip here. Who got?
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, Gianni's waiting.
No, I just want to get through these 90 seconds. But do you pause it every question?
Oh no. You get 90 seconds to answer it.
Okay,
yeah.
I like that.
You can talk for 90 seconds for each question.
For each question. Got it. I was trying to shoot from the hip.
That was pretty awesome. That's all right. Question number 3 is, has social media helped grow your gym, or do you think it attracts the wrong kind of attention sometimes?
No, it hasn't helped grow my gym. I think it helps retain people because I say this all the time, my demographic is like all over the world. Like I didn't do that on purpose. It's just how it ended up happening. So like whenever I posted something about my gym, it was like nobody in my area would see it. It wasn't local.
Yeah.
So like I would get people be like, dude, if I was in the States, I would come. And I'm like, well, that's not helping me, you know? So I don't think it helped grow. But when people do come into the gym, I'm like, hey, just follow my Instagram. And they're like, bro, you're funny. Oh, you're good. You see your highlights. You do this. And then they're like more engaged. But I haven't seen it personally grow my gym. It's helped me grow seminars, maybe.
Yeah.
And maybe in overall as a identity, but not my gym.
So question number 4, who are your biggest role models in the sport?
I don't really have that many role models in the sport. I'm trying to think. Like Andy Main from Pure really was a huge role model for me. He like helped me learn that he could be like really a businessman and a high level athlete. So I think he was definitely one. His little brother Mikey was one. He just showed me like you can be one of the greatest dudes at jiu-jitsu and not compete. And I was like, that's incredible too. Really, those two were a big part of my like development. Gianni now is a role model in a sense of like his discipline and his like way of approaching life. Like he's just always locked in. So I would say maybe those 3. Yeah. Outside of that, in the beginning, I would say the Mendez brothers and Marcelo Garcia, but I wouldn't really see any of these people as like a role model per se. Yeah.
I had a friend saying, don't ever meet your heroes or they're going to disappoint you. And
yeah, dude. Yeah, bro.
Yeah. Okay. Question number 5. What's one BJJ dogma or myth you wish more people understood?
I guess maybe that people think jiu-jitsu is for everybody. I call bullshit. Like, I don't think it is for everybody. Like, you know, if you don't have the discipline, you're probably going to get beat up a lot. And if you don't like getting beaten up a lot, it's probably not for you. Yeah, that one. I wish more people understand, like, it takes a specific type of person to get injured, come back, get hurt, come back, train, lose, come back, you know? So that's one of them.
Okay. Question number 6. What's one thing you wish you knew earlier in your journey?
One thing I wish I knew earlier, I wish I knew like how to behave myself, you know? I feel like I was really reckless. I used to party a lot. I used to like, I never like did too many drugs. Like I wasn't like into anything like that, but I used to just like go out every weekend and like just try to train. And I think I didn't commit myself to the things I found important enough.
Yep. Question number 7. What are some red flags people should watch out for when choosing a gym?
Oh, there's a lot. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's a lot. Yeah. Some red flags. Like if they're facing the wall while they're tying the belt, just get out.
Yeah.
If there's like a picture in black and white of some skinny guy you've never seen and people are like bowing to it, like definitely get out. If you go in and there's like a yearly contract and you can't get out monthly, like get out. If you have to use a word os that you've never heard in your life and like bow to certain people, get out. If you can't ask certain people to roll, get out. Oh God, dude, there's so many, bro. Yeah, like there's so many. If like they don't let you train in another gym, get out. If they think that there's only one way to do it and it's their way, get out. If you can't roll with whoever you want or say no to whoever you want, get out. If there's some rule against like recording what you're supposed to be doing or like posting anything like that, get out. If they say you have to buy their uniforms, get out. If they, I can go on forever, dude. Like there's more red flags and green flags in this shit, man.
That's true. That's true, yeah. So what is one thing most BJJ coaches get wrong when teaching, beginners or advanced?
Yeah. What is something they get wrong from beginners to advanced? I think coaches don't coach to concepts. They coach to techniques, which isn't the end of the world, right? This isn't like an eco battle, but I think when you teach a technique, it's very individualized and requires a certain variables in that person versus a concept which can be applied to everybody. And so I think what they get wrong is not emphasizing the things that need to be done and instead emphasize how it should be done. And so like, no, put your hand here, do this, instead of explaining like, as long as you get these things done, you know, from beginner to the best, those things will always be true. So I think that's something a lot of coaches get wrong.
All right, awesome. Last question number 9 is, what are some misconceptions about being a coach or gym owner that social media doesn't show?
Some misconceptions. You're not going to make a lot of money in the beginning. Yeah, that's one of the big ones. Like people assume, okay, I have a gym now, so I'm rich, or I have a gym now, I can do whatever I want. So I think that's a big misconception. Also, another one is like, you can't just, when you open up a gym, you have to invest more of your time in the people than in yourself. That's a big 100%. Misconception. People think
100%. Yeah, you can't be selfish.
Yeah. Another huge one is like, if you're a big name in jiu-jitsu, it does not matter if your gym sucks.
Yeah.
And I don't mean your technique. I don't mean like your physical space. I meant your culture, the way you treat people, knowing everybody's name. That all really matters. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. So where do you see Bodega in 5 years? And then what goals do you have in BJJ?
Yeah, so I see Bodega, I like take my years very seriously. I take Bodega within the next 5 years in a bigger, larger space. I think we're going to take up a larger space of the competitive sphere as well. I think we're going to make a bigger name for ourselves. And more specifically also in women's BJJ, I see us really taking a strong hold there. I think there's not, I shouldn't say there's not. I think that there's a lot of great women, but not necessarily great women teams. I want to really take that space over, and Vanessa, my girlfriend in our gym, is going to spearhead that. So 2 things. I see us with the larger space, and then hopefully in 5 years also more than one location. And then I also see us just taking up a larger space in the culture as a whole.
Mm-hmm. Good answer.
And then what was the second question?
What goals do you have in jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, so this year, like every year I set goals to compete. Like I want to win something for myself, like as a competitor. So I want to do that. I have a specific goal. I don't want to talk about it, but I want to win something. And then outside of that, I just want to like be the best coach I can be. But this year I'm going to be a little selfish to compete, but still focus on being one of the best coaches. So I just want to keep growing and keep learning and never close my mind.
That's awesome. And then lastly, who would you like to thank?
Who'd I like to thank? Well, first and foremost, I want to thank God. And maybe that's weird, but I'm just very, very grateful for all the opportunities I've gotten. Like, it's crazy. Like, one after the next, I feel like I did nothing to deserve them. So I'm very grateful for that and just like the grace that he allows in my life. And then I also want to thank everyone who supports me in my life, like all of my students. Couldn't be where I'm at without those people. Gianni, we wouldn't be on the map if it weren't for him. Greg, I wouldn't know our standard or our approach if it weren't for him. My girlfriend, like she supports me in everything I do and is so proud of me, and she's leading our women's team. Couldn't do it without her. And like I said, just everyone around me, my family, my grandma, I want to thank everyone. I want to thank you. You guys, like it's unreal that I'm in Thailand right now doing a podcast, taught a seminar. Like what? I can't believe I met you who's helping me with the video. Just want to thank everybody ever.
All right. That's a good way to close it. Thank you very much.
Thanks, man.
Thank you.